first to you is on the credibility of this White House when it comes to talking about the president's health. When you were here last Tuesday, you were asked if the president had had any medical examinations since his physical in February, or that included the time period after the debate. You said flatly no. 3 days later, you admitted the president had a quote short check-in with the medical team thereafter. I mean, those are two very different answers.
No. Actually, if you were to listen to I think I did a 30-minute gaggle on Friday, 30 minutes with I think it was with the pool, and I said he did not have a medical. I cleared it up. You're right. You're correct. I said he didn't. I still stand, but he didn't have a medical exam. I said that in the gaggle, and you're right. I said that in the briefing. He had a check-in with, and he said this on Friday. He had a check-in with his medical doctor, which is something that he does a couple times a week, as you know, and I stated this as well. He has, for those who don't know, obviously outside of the briefing room, outside of the White House, many Americans don't actually understand this, so let's take a step back. They deal with their medical issues or physicals very, very differently. They are very, they are lucky if they get to see their doctor once or twice a year, right? They have to get in a car, they have to either take public transportation in order to make that happen. The president's medical unit is literally down on the other side of the colonnade, is just down the steps from the residence, and so a couple times a week he does a check-in, a verbal check-in with his doctor while he's exercising. That is something that happens often. Matter of fact, he did a check-in today because I know folks were going to ask about if he was tested for COVID. He was not. We are following CDC guidance. He was not tested for COVID, just to let you guys know about that one. And if he has any symptoms, obviously we would test him.
Is that in the context of the second gentleman's diagnosis?
Yes, yes, which is why. No. It's in context of the second gentleman. But to answer your point, he did not have a medical exam. He did not have a physical. He did do like a verbal check-in with his doctor a couple days after the debate, and it was very quick. It was a couple of words that were spoken to each other, and that's how we were able to give you that answer. But he did not have a medical exam. He did not have a physical.
You said no, though, last Tuesday.
Yeah.
Did you know about that verbal check-in, or did we just not ask him precise enough questions?
So the line of questions that I was getting that day was, in the way that I was hearing the question, was about the medical exam. I answered MJ's question when she asked me medical exam, and I answered and I said no, physical, and then somebody else asked me, was there a check-in? I did not mean to steer anybody wrong. I was still thinking about the medical exam. I was still thinking about the physical. That's how I answered the question. And then when it became, when the president actually spoke to it, I went back, asked the medical doctor, and he said they had a verbal check-in. That's what he said. But in answering the question, I was talking about the medical exam. I was talking about the physical.
And then shoot quick ones. There's been a lot of reporting in the last 24 hours about a Parkinson's expert who's come to visit the White House almost a dozen times over the last year or so, including at least one meeting with the president's physician. Could you state, like, very clearly, yes or no, was that expert here to participate in anything surrounding the care of the President of the United States?
So let me just say a couple of things. We have had a comprehensive, and I just want to take another step back, comprehensive physical examination. The President has had that. We've given a comprehensive report. We've shared that the past 3 years. Every year that he has had this exam, he sees a neurologist. And just to give you a quote from that, from the report most recently in February, an extremely detailed neurological exam was again reassuring in that there were no findings which would be consistent with any cerebellar or other central neurological disorders such as a stroke, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, or ascending lateral sclerosis, end quote. So that came directly from in February in that comprehensive report that was provided by the President's doctor to me, that I share with all of you. So anyone who is watching can certainly go to our website.
The question, which was this expert's visits, was multiple visits to the White House pertaining at all to the President's care?
Well, here's the thing. I've said he has had three. He has had three physicals. In those 3 physicals, that's when he has seen specialist, a neurological specialist.
President Sell?
I have to be super mindful here, and this is why, and I'll explain this to you in a second. There are thousands of military personnel who come onto this White House. Many of them get the care from the White House medical unit, and so need to be super careful. There are, the medical unit hosts a wide range of specialists, from dermatologists to a neurologist, and so I cannot speak to every person because there's actually a security reasons to protect their privacy. We respect and protecting people's privacy, so do not want to share. I'm not going to share people's names from here, but the president, I can tell you, has seen a neurologist 3 times, as it's connected to a physical that he gets every year that we provide to all of you.
It's a very basic, direct question.
Wait, hold on, wait a second.
8 times, or at least once, in regards to the president specifically.
Hold on a second.
That's what you should be able to answer by this point.
Wait,
After
no.
4 days of reporting about it.
No, wait a minute. Ed, please. A little respect here, please. So, every year, around the president's physical examination, he sees a neurologist. That's 3 times, right? So I am telling you that he has seen a neurologist 3 times while he has been in this presidency. That's what I'm saying. I am telling you that he has seen them 3 times. That is what I'm sharing with you, right? So every time he has a physical, he has had to see a neurologist. So that is answering that question.
No, it's not.
No, it is. It is. You're
Dr.
asking me.
Kevin Cannard come to the White House
But I
specifically about
also
the
said to
president's
you,
condition.
Ed, I also said to you, for security reasons, we cannot share names. We cannot share names.
You cannot
We
share
have to
names
we have
of
to
others he would have met with.
we
But
cannot-
you can share names
No,
in regards to if
We-
someone came here in
no,
regards
we
to the
cannot
president.
we cannot share names of specialists broadly. From a dermatologist to a neurologist. We cannot share names. There are security reasons. We have to protect.
It's public.
I understand
I
that.
looked it up before I came out here.
hear
It's
you.
right there for anyone to see.
Ed, I hear you. I cannot from here confirm any of that because we have to keep their privacy. I think they would appreciate that too. We have to give them.
Information of the doctor.
We have to keep their privacy.
It is
It's
public.
public
I
information.
hear
It is
you.
listed that he
I
went
am.
to
And
the
you're going to
White
allow
House.
this to fester longer, Karine, unless the White House answers the
hold on a
question.
second. There's no reason to go back and forth and be in this
We're a
aggressive
little
way.
miffed around here about how information's been shared with the press corps
What
about him.
do you missed about? What do you missed
Everything
about?
he just asked about.
And then every time I come back and I answer the question that
And
you guys
answered it
asked.
correctly, you didn't have to come back and clean it
I
up.
never
a few days
answered the
later.
question incorrectly. That is not true. I was asked about a medical exam. I was asked about a physical. That was in the line of question that I answered. And I said, no, he did not have a medical exam, and I still stand by that. Matter of fact, the president still stands by that. He had a verbal check-in. That is something that the president has a couple times a week. A couple times a week.
Now in regards to Dr. Kevin Cannard.
And I am telling you right now that I am not sharing, confirming names from here. It is a security reasons. I am not going to do that, Ed. It doesn't matter how hard you push me. It doesn't matter how angry you get with me. I'm not going to confirm a name. It doesn't matter if it's even in the log. I am not going to do that from here. That is not something I am going to do. What I can share with you is that the president has seen a neurologist for his physical 3 times. 3 times. And it is in the reporting that we share a comprehensive reporting. Matter of fact, it's more than what the last guy shared, and it is in line with what George W. Bush did. It's in line with what Obama did. And so it is comprehensive. It is out there. I just read a quote from it, but I am not going to devolve somebody's name or confirm someone. I'm not going to do that. That is as privacy for that person. I'm not going to do that. It doesn't matter how hard you push me. It doesn't matter how angry you get with me from here. I'm just not going to do that. It is inappropriate. It is not acceptable. So I'm not going to do it.
Not about the name.
Go ahead.
If you cannot confirm the name, can you confirm whether or not the president has seen this Parkinson specialist? And you mentioned 3 times, but the visitor logs show a duration of 8 visits over 8 months. I think that is the crux of the question.
But I also said there are thousands of military personnel that come to the White House, and they are under the care of the medical unit. They are.
Can you confirm that the Parkinson's visits, specialist visits, were for the president or not?
What I can tell you is that the president has seen a neurologist 3 times and I read to you what the neurologist has said, and I read to you the last line. I could say it again. No findings which would be consistent with any cerebellar or other central neurological disorders such as stroke, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, or ascending lateral sclerosis. That is from February. That is coming from February. That is what the medical unit, the president's doctor, shared. And I said to you, it's happened 3 times. Each time there is a physical that occurs, and we put out a comprehensive report. That is when he has been able to see a specialist. So that's what I can share.
Question on this. Has the president, you mentioned Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, all of these things. One diagnosis that we have heard of, potential diagnosis, is hydrocephalus, which is fluid buildup in the brain. It's something we've never heard in any of the medical reports. Is that something that the president has been evaluating?
If it's not in the medical report, obviously it's not something that the president is dealing with. Well, I can tell you this. Just going back to Parkinson's for a little bit, so to give you some answers here. Has the president been treated for Parkinson's? No. Is he being treated for Parkinson's? No, he's not. Is he taking medication for Parkinson's? No. So those are the things that I can give you full-blown answers on. But I'm not going to confirm a specialist, any specialist that comes to the White House out of privacy.
Question is, will the president go to the Hill today? I know we saw his letter. Is he intending to have this conversation face to face with him?
So look, the president, obviously this is someone who is a senator for 36 years, who was the president of the Senate as when he was vice president for 8 years. And he truly respects the members of Congress, and has always and will always do that, especially as a former senator. And I will say, and you've heard us say this before, or most recently, is this is a president who's won the primary, right, by 14 million votes, 87% of those votes, so certainly. And look, I don't have any engagements to read out, outside of that. But I will say that the president was in Pennsylvania. I just mentioned at the top, he got to see Senator Fetterman, Senator Casey. He also got to see Congresswoman Dean. He spent some time with them. They traveled across Pennsylvania. And I will say, when the president gets knocked down, he gets back up. This is quintessential Joe Biden. And there are a long list of other congressional members who have shown their support for this president. I don't have anything else to read out. You saw the letter. The letter was, I think, pretty clear on where the president stands, and I'll just leave it there.
Yeah. You've noted that there are thousands within the Walter Reed system who may be treated by a specialist who visits here at the White House, but this neurologist had a meeting with the president's physician, with his doctor. You're refusing to say if he was here to evaluate the president or if he was consulting on the president's health, so what then was that meeting about?
And I will say that Dr. O'Connor leads the medical unit. He leads the medical unit. No, because we will not confirm or speak to names that you're providing to me. It is out of security reason, is out of protecting someone's privacy. We're just not going to do that. But they are. The reason that I mention that is because there are 1,000 military members that do indeed use the White House medical unit. They do. They get care from that.
We're talking about the President of the United States.
Guys, I'm trying to answer the question so you can connect the dot that there are multiple neurologists that come, not neurologists, specialists that come through here because there are more than 1,000 medical military personnel here. But
you certainly could clear this all up just by saying what he was doing here and if it was connected to the president, yes or no?
I am not going to confirm a particular neurologist, anybody. It doesn't matter if they're a dermatologist or a neurologist. I'm just not going to do that. I shared with all of you that the president has been with the neurologist 3 times as it relates to his physical, 3 times. So I'm just not going to do that out of security reasons, out of privacy. It is not something that I'm going to do. A measure of privacy, we have to be able to give people from here.
One other question. The president's doctor, you say, has seen no reason to evaluate him for Parkinson's since his physical in February. Is that based on these verbal check-ins that you've been describing based on his public appearances.
Wait, say that one more time?
You've said that the president's doctor has seen no reason to evaluate him or reevaluate him for Parkinson's since that physical in February. What is that based on? Is it these
Well,
verbal check-ins?
I never said
That's
that.
what the White House has said.
Well, what I have said is, what I have said is that he just had a physical just in February, and the physical was very clear. It was a comprehensive physical. We gave out a report on that, and you know, as it relates to the check-ins, that is something that is common. The president has a medical unit that is literally down the hall that he's able to check in with when necessary. They normally do it while he's exercising. That is not uncommon. It is very different. It is very different than any everyday American. They do not have that option. They do not have that access because he's president of the United States. Every other president has had that access, and they are able to do that.
So just to be clear, yes or no, has his physician seen a reason to reevaluate him for Parkinson's since the February physical?
No, the comprehensive report that you all have stands. The president obviously will have another physical, and we'll wait for that physical.
Great.
So, Chris,
Yeah.
the president has said twice that he's had neurological evaluations as part of his physicals, you know, in these various interviews today and also on ABC. But there have been a number of people who have said, listen, you know, why don't you have a cognitive test just to rule out that there are any issues? Would the president, you know, would you counsel him to do that just to sort of put an end to these questions?
Andre, I hear you. The neurologists have said it is not warranted. The president himself, he said it today, he said it multiple times, and the doctor has said this. Everything that he does day in and day out as it relates to delivering for the American people is a cognitive test. And that is what the medical doctor has said. That is what the specialist has said. I just want to take a step back for a second, because I do take offense to what Ed alluded to. You know, come out here, every day there's a press briefing, and we do our best to give you the information that we have at the time. That's what we do. And we understand that the freedom of the press, we respect the freedom of the press. You heard me talk about this last week. I appreciate the back and forth that we all have. I try to respect you, and I hope you try to respect me. And we literally do everything that we can. My team does everything that we can to make sure we get the answers to you. That's what we do. And sometimes we disagree. Sometimes we are not in agreement. But you know what? That's democracy. That is what is important, to have that healthy back and forth. And so to say that I'm holding information or allude to anything else is not unfair. It's really, really unfair. I think people who are watching and have been watching this briefing for this past week could say that we are doing our best in this briefing to provide the information that we have. And I will admit, I will be the first one to admit, sometimes I get it wrong. At least I admit that. At least I admit that. And sometimes I don't have the information. And I will always, always admit that. But I do take offense to what was just happening at the beginning of this briefing. It's not okay. Go ahead.
We are seeking clarity.
I understand that.
And I think what we're trying to say is when a name is in a public record on a WAVES form, that it is in the public domain.
Yep.
The president could authorize that his medical records or additional medical information could be made public, because he could waive HIPAA, he could do those things.
Yep.
And if he chooses to do that, we would like to know more. Part of the reason we are pressing here is that we are not clear on what has happened, and therefore the American people to whom we report don't have a sense of it. So that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And so
But the personal attacks is not okay.
and
So
we want to have a
just want to be
positive.
very, very clear here.
So the question is, one question is, after a debate that drew days and days and days of scrutiny, why hasn't the president had an in-person physical check-in? Maybe blood work, maybe other things,
Yeah.
because when he said he was seen, I certainly thought he had been physically seen, not a phone check-in.
No.
So and that's part of what we're saying about how
Yeah.
information comes out in waves, and then we may have a
understand.
different impression. So
And I totally
this has
understand that.
dominated his presidency
Yeah.
for 10 days, and he could submit to another exam, a full exam, partial exam, whatever. He can waive his right to make things public. None of us are asking about the military members who might be seeing a physician here. None of us. We are only asking about the president's well-being.
Understood.
And so that's why we want to understand. When you see
Yeah.
on the public records that a physician with his specialty has come to the White House, gone to the residence clinic, and met with the president's physician, we feel like there is more to be said there, and that's what we're asking.
And I understand that, Kelly-O, and you know I respect you wholeheartedly, and I've known you for some time. We want to be also, because we are talking about someone whose name who is out there, and I understand. I get it. It's in the log. I get that. It's in the log. We want to respect that person and give them the measure of privacy that they deserve. The moment I say anything about any specialist, it becomes a thing from this podium. So what I can share, and this is what I can share, he has seen a neurologist 3 times. 3 times, not more, not more than that. Not more than that. He's seen a neurologist 3 times. And that is connected to the physical, the comprehensive physical that we have been able to share with you. So I think that gives you some information about how many times. 3 times. And the reason why I am sharing that there are thousands of military personnel, so you also have an understanding, because there are 1,000 military personnel that comes here, and that not just comes here, but under the care of the medical unit, right? They get care from the White House medical unit. There tends to be dermatologists, from dermatologists to neurologists who come through here because the White House medical unit is indeed caring for folks. So I have confirmed 3 times. I just cannot get into details or confirm a name of a person. I cannot do that. There's security reasons. We have to give people a measure of
He would
privacy.
waive some of his records and make those
I
public?
don't know how all of that works. I'm not going to pretend I know how that works. And what I will do is certainly will share that information with the powers that be. I just don't want to get into a back and forth on that particular question. Go ahead.
Thanks, Karine. I mean, to Kelly-O's point, the
Yeah.
president today, when he called into Morning Joe, he said that he had released all of his medical records. Should we take that as an indication that he's going to do so?
Well, look, what I can say is that we have shared a comprehensive medical report that is pretty detailed, that is in line with other presidents, certainly not the last one, but the ones, the 2 before the last president. And we have been pretty much in line with what they have done. To be more clear, George W. Bush and also President Obama. So we've been.
The last one did let his doctors come to the briefing room to speak to us.
Okay, and we know what that last president said from this briefing room. Okay, so
Call
and
today.
only did 3 or 4 paragraphs. Very different approach.
During the call today to MSNBC,
Yeah, sure.
was the president reading off of a script?
So I was in the room when the president called into Morning Joe. The president spoke from his heart. The president was very clear. There was no script at all. And he was very detailed. You heard him say actually during the call that he was reading some quotes. He said it. He shared that information. He was reading some quotes from the debate. So he shared that with you. What you heard was a passionate interview. It was about 18 minutes. He talked about and laid out his vision for this country. He talked about how he wants to make sure we move forward. I want to be really careful because he also talked about the campaign, which I can't do from here. But he I think it was incredibly powerful.
Quotes, but not from a script?
Nope, it was not a script.
In a big boy
was in
press
the room.
conference,
It was
how
not
many
a script.
questions should we expect that he is going to take?
So look, it is going to be a solo press conference. It is going to be certainly more than a 2+2. I'm not going to, we're still working it out, so I'm not going to go into specifics from here. But you could expect a solo press conference from this president at the end of the NATO summit. He's looking forward to it, and he will be taking your questions. So that'll be a good thing.
Something different.
Great. I have 2 questions. One, a follow-up on Dr. Cannard, and that is, can you explain what the role of Megan Nasworthy is? Does she oversee care for some of those military personnel that you were referencing as a group, or does she oversee care for the president?
I believe, again, want to be careful here. I know who you're speaking of. I don't have her full portfolio in front of me, so I would have my team and I will be happy to get back to you.
Okay. And then on the president's and the White House's engagement with House Democrats.
Yeah.
And Democrats more broadly. There was an article a month ago in the Wall Street Journal that the White House universally panned because the on-the-record quotes criticizing the president's age and acuity were largely from Republicans. But I want to ask about the graphs in that story about Democrats. It said that the White House...
From that same story.
From that same story. It said that the White House kept close tabs on the Journal's interviews with Democratic lawmakers, and after the offices of several Democrats shared with the White House either a recording of an interview or details about what was asked, some of those lawmakers spoke to the Journal a second time and once again emphasized Biden's strength. They quote Congressman Gregory Meeks, a New York Democrat, saying, "They just, said that I should give you a call back." I'm wondering if you could characterize what the White House told Democrats to tell reporters about the president.
I think the Democrats spoke for themselves. I think, you know how stories work. There's a lot of back and forth. When you all come with a story from us, and we want to make sure you hear from other voices, we make that available to you all. And it's up to the reporters if they're going to reach out or not to that particular person. But we expect and we anticipate and we understand that it doesn't matter who, if it's a congressperson or a governor or any elected official, they're going to speak for themselves. They're going to speak for themselves. And I would say that Representative Greg Meeks has also been very supportive. If you fast forward to where we are today, Representative Meeks has been very supportive of this president, moving forward, and we've heard from many others. The CBC more broadly has been very supportive. We heard from the chair, Chairman Hosford, from the CBC, and so that is the type of support that we continue to see.
So there hasn't been outreach by the White House to Democrats who might have misgivings about the president's age or acuity to have them say positive things about the president publicly?
I don't quite understand where you're going with the question. I think I explained it. Sometimes when you all are working on stories and we want to hear, we were trying to provide supporters from the president, that is not unusual. And it is up to the reporter to reach out or not. And so that is something that we certainly do. That is something that, that is not uncommon. But what I would say more broadly, there are congressional members, as we're talking about what's happening in Congress, as we're talking about the president's outreach, as we're talking about, how we move forward. There are congressional members out there who have been incredibly supportive. We have to remember there are hundreds of House members, and so. There are folks out there.
The president's outreach today and tomorrow ahead of these all conference and all caucus meetings.
So what I can say is that, as you all know, the president has done some outreach. He's spoke about it himself. I can say, as of today, he is engaged with dozens of members, whether in person or on calls. We saw him engaging with congressional members over the weekend. We saw him doing that on several of the trips that he has done over the past 10 days. There have been about 6 states that he's been able to stop over and engage with supporters. So he's been able to do that. And there's a long list. I'm trying to spare you the list here, but there is a long list. Senator Chris Coons, Senator John Fetterman, Senator Alex Padilla, Senator Chuck Schumer, Senator Bernie Sanders, Senator Raphael Warnock. It goes on and on. Representative Clyburn, Al Green, Horsford, as I mentioned already. There has been a long list of, we believe, incredibly supportive congressional members who have continued.
That have been provided to us from the campaign too, but I'm wondering if the president has spoken directly with Leader Schumer and Minority Leader Jeffries in the last 24 hours, and whether the president
I hear you. We shared that just last week, that the president spoke to the leadership. Obviously on the Democratic side.
Has he spoken to them since yesterday?
I don't have anything to read out to you as far as what we've shared with you last week, but the president has been in regular touch. And those conversations went very, very well. I think he mentioned, in particular, Leader Jeffries, that went almost for an hour. The president said that himself. He said how much they had a very, very good conversation. The president saw Congresswoman Dean, as I mentioned. He saw both senators of Pennsylvania as well yesterday, traveled across the state and had really two big events with supporters, with Americans who got to hear directly from the president. And I think that's important.
Great.
Again, Michael.
Yeah, thanks, Karine. Were all three of President Biden's neurological exams that you've confirmed, were they all conducted at Walter Reed?
Look, I don't have anything to state as to location. What I can say for sure that he has seen a neurologist 3 times as it relates to the exam that he takes every year, and I just don't have a location to speak to.
Well, let me just try
Sure.
a different way. I mean, has any neurologist?
And you also know that the president does go to Walter Reed to do his physical exams.
Well, has a neurologist? I'm not talking about anyone in particular, regardless of the identity, name of that person. Has any neurologist came to the White House to visit President Biden?
What I can tell you during those exams that we have been able to do every year for the past 3 years, and there's a comprehensive exams that we share, a comprehensive report that we share with all of you, he has seen a neurologist.
And that's what I'm trying to clarify. It seems like those were taken at Walter Reed. And so it's an important distinction in all this.
You all know that he does indeed go to Walter Reed as part of his physical exam. That is no secret. That is something that he does. And I also confirmed that he sees a neurologist every time that he's done these exams. I don't have anything beyond that.
Thanks.
Karine.
I know.
Why
I
would
know.
Karine?
Karine,
Why would
in front.
I know. Go
Karine.
ahead, April.
Karine, as everyone is talking about neurological issues, this is different but kind of on that same page. The president has had 2 aneurysms, okay? And there are complications from aneurysms to include impaired short-term memory, inability to concentrate, as well as speech difficulties. Have any neurologists worked with him or just trying to observe him as he is a person who has suffered from 2 aneurysms that could have been fatal?
Look, April, in the comprehensive reporting that we share with all of you on a yearly basis, the neurological exam have been detailed, extremely detailed. It is directly from the doctor. They talk about the specifics of that neurological exam. And so I would refer you to the 6-page comprehensive memo, and that's what I would refer you to.
But that is something that we know about, that he had 2 aneurysms.
Yeah.
And that is all of those complications are part of a neurological exam. Have they tested for that at all? Do you know?
What I can tell you is that the exams have been detailed, they have been extensive, and that's what I can share with you. I would refer you to the document, to the report.
Question.
Sure.
We're just days away from the Republican convention. How do you, as this White House who stands behind this president, how do you work to do an image change to revamp him, to make him shinier and brighter, if you will?
So I'm not going to speak to the Republican convention. That's something that I'm not going to do, but I am going to. Wait, hold on a second. Hold on, give me a second. Look, in the past 10 days, the president has gone to 6 states. He has. He's gone to North Carolina, New Jersey, New York, Georgia, Pennsylvania. I know that's a Commonwealth, but he's been to 6. And in that time, he has engaged directly with the American public. And you've seen the enthusiasm, you've seen the energy. He's been able to talk to them directly and talk about his goals for the future. Talk about what he's done in the past 3.5 years. They have heard specifically from him on even his health, even the debate. And I think that's important too. So, and you just heard me lay out the next 2 weeks. So the president's going to continue to go out there. He's going to continue to be present in the communities. He's going to continue to hear directly from the American people. And that's the best way to do this. That's the best way to get out there. That's the best way to make sure that you have your finger on the pulse and that the American people get to see you for themselves.
to the Republican convention. What about the Democratic convention?
I can't speak to the
And all-
Democratic convention either. I can't speak to that. That's for the.
How do you?
No, but you're asking me to speak to two things that I can't speak to from here. That is something that the campaign and the convention can speak to. Very.
Right at the end of the
April, you may not like my answer, but I'm telling you, the president's going to continue to go out there. I just shared with you at the top a robust plan that the president has to be out there, whether it is in Vegas, whether it's in Texas, and let's not forget the other states that he's visited in the last 10 days. There's a stark difference from what we've been doing and what the other side is doing. Stark difference. And so the president is committed. He's going to continue to do that. He wants to engage directly with the American people. 600 people at the church yesterday, 600 people at the event in Harrisburg. That's a pretty good start. And that's just a continuation. That's actually not a start. That's a continuation. Go ahead, Josh. I know. I'm getting you.
Is it still the administration's policy that physicals are done annually?
Yes, that is just like every other president has done before this president. We're going to continue to uphold that.
So it would be fair to us to assume that as of now, his next expected physical would be next year?
It would be next year. The last one was in February.
Can you clarify for us, forgive me, I might have missed it, or
Yeah.
by design, he will or he won't go to the Hill tomorrow?
Say that one more time.
Go to
Oh,
the
I
Hill
don't have
tomorrow.
any engagement to share. As you know, NATO is front of mind. That's what he's focused on. You saw that letter that came out from the president. He's going to be focusing on the more than 30 world leaders that are coming here for 75th anniversary of NATO, continuing to show the strength of our alliance. I think it is something that the president's very much looking forward to, and you'll certainly hear from the president on Thursday when he gives his press conference, his big boy press conference, as your colleague Justin has stated many times.
I'll give him your regards.
Yeah.
We shouldn't expect then some sort of big outreach push to member Democratic.
I mean, look, I just shared that he has done dozens of calls, not just calls, but also face-to-face, as he did in Pennsylvania. His team, campaign side, they're going to do their thing. We're going to do our thing on our side. And he, respects tremendously Congress. And so he's in regular contact with them, and that's what you're going to continue to see.